Good morning. We're learning as is chusr for Shlomo Filana Chaya Basarach and for Bas Tzion Bas Chaya. We're on the bottom of Daf Tzadi Ches Amud Aleph. We're going to start reviewing a lot of shitas, a lot of names of Amoraim. Uh, 5 lines from the bottom. Amr of Chia Bar Abba Amr of Yeshua ben Levi Mishum Bar Kapara. We have two shitas about what Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said b'Shem Bar Kapara. First man, Abba says, Kalishun Shabbatayra Besamach. He says the general rule is that an Isser is bottle Bashishim. Very familiar. Amulfan of Yishua by Yitzchak, Rabbi Ata Imakain. Yishua by Yitzchak disagreed with Rabbi Abba. Hachi Amar Abasi Amar Rabbi Yishua ben Lev Mishum Bakapara. I have a different memra than what Rabbi Abba said b'Shem Yishua ben Levi. I have that Rabbi Ravasi said b'Shem Yishua ben Levi Yishum Bar Kapara Kol Shum B'Torah B'Meya that Isun Shabbatara bottle B'Meya U'Shnei Le'amdu El Mizraya B'Shela. Both of these shitas, both 1 in 60 and 1 in 100, are both learned in the same from the same case of Izraya B'Shela, of a cooked leg, the cooked hand or foreleg of the Nazir, the Shlomim of a Nazir. We never got. That's going to come later on in the Gemara, where we're going to see how you can have both 1 in 60 and 1 in 100 out of this case. So we didn't get up to that yesterday, but we'll get to that today, Bez Shem. Just in the middle of the next Amud, that the Torah says that a Nazir, when he ends his term of Naziris, brings a Shlomim, and one of the things it says is the Lokach HaKainis has Roya B'Shelam in an ayil. He brings the ayil as a Shlomim, and he takes the cooked foreleg of that ayil. V'chalas matzah achas and asal, and he takes one chalas matzah, one mincha from the basket, or kik matzah echad, and one thin matzah, one chametzik matzah, and one thin matzah. B'nasan al kapei hanazir achar hiskaluchayis nahad nazir, and you put it on all these things, the zroya b'shela together with the chalas matzah and the rekik matzah, you put in the hand of the nazir. I'm saying, Zaktu Gemara, and the Kain. So the Kain takes, and the Kain's the one who gets. The Kain is the one who gets this Zroya B'Shela. It's only mutter for Kehanim. This cooked foreleg is only mutter Kehanim. It's not mutter for a non-Kain. The Tanya B'Shela ain't B'Shela Ela Shlema. When the Torah says B'Shela, it has a translation, a connotation that we're not necessarily familiar with. I certainly am not. Rashi also is not. If you see the top Rashi, Ein B'Shela Shlema, Loinus Parish Be'ez Lashon. I don't know in which language B'Shela means Shlema, but it has this connotation that it should be whole, that this foreleg should not be cut up. Or we'll see what it means. He says b'sheila means, look at it as a zroya b'sheila doesn't mean whole. It means, like we always say, b'sheila means that it's cooked, and that means that it's cooked together with the ayil. That when after you shech the ayil, you don't cut it up into pieces, but rather you have to cook the two of them together. It means before you don't separate it into two separate pots, but the ayil and the zroya have to be cooked together. And contrary to the way it sounds like Rishon Bar Yochai was saying that they have to be together, and the Tanna Kama just said Ein B'Sheila Ela Shlema, nothing on that topic. Everyone agrees that they have to be cooked together. Ma'asav Machatach Lavahadam Avashla. Rishon Bar Yochai says B'Sheila Ela, the Tanna Kama that says it's shlema means just that the foreleg itself has to remain intact. It can't be cut up, it can't be butchered um, into pieces. But he holds that you can't separate it from the ayil and then cook it. And the Reb Shimon ben Yochai is saying it means in Shbashla or ayil that you first cook the entire animal together, both the animal together with the zroya, and then afterwards you cut it into pieces. That's the first shot. Viba is saying or you could say that everyone agrees that you cut it into pieces. And then, cut the pieces, but you separate the aisle from the foreleg and then you cut it, which is the normal way. That's what you do with kachim. You don't usually, the one exception that we know is the Korban Pesach, right? Has to be cooked all together. But everything else, you cut it up before you cook it, you separate the limbs, you butcher it. So everyone agrees that you do the same thing over here. You separate the aisle from the zroya. Miu Mar Savar, Rav Shimon bar Yochai holds Bahadi Ayil Mavashala. He said Rav Shimon bar Yochai said Ein B'Shela El Shabashim Ayil. That it means that you have to, after you cut it apart, it says B'Shela. It's a Zroya B'Shela. It means that it was Mavushal together with these Zroya. The Ayil was with together Zroya. That you put them together in the pot. But according to the Tanna Kama, that even that's not necessary. All the Torah told you is ein b'sheila el shleima, just that you can't cut up the zroya itself into steaks, but you just have to keep it intact. But you can cook it in a different pot entirely from the original ayil. So in any case, lishna kamo aliba divrei akol lishna basa aliba divrei Shimon ben Yochai. So it comes out, except for this last shita that we just said, the Tanna Kama in the second pshat, all other pshatim require that the zroya be cooked together with the ayil. Just the last one, we say it doesn't mean that, because that's the pashta pshat. If you look at the words, as Zroya b'shelo is mashma that it was cooked. He takes the Zroya that was cooked together with the rest of it. So in this last pshat, the Tanna Kama disagrees with that. But according to the other three pshatim, meaning the Tanna Kama and Rav Shimon bar Yochai in the first pshat, and Rav Shimon bar Yochai in the second pshat, man da Amma b'shishim savar. So the problem is like this, right? You're talking about a Zroya that is only allowed to be eaten by Kehanim. And in all these pshatim was saying that it's cooked, whether together with the ayil, where it's attached to the ayil, or cut into separate pieces and cooked together with the ayil in the same pot. You're taking something that's usher for Yisraelim, for a non-kayan to eat, and you're cooking it together with the rest of the ayil of the shlam that's being eaten by non-Kehanim. We always, right? Well, how is this any different than when you cook truma together with Chullin? That now the Chullin becomes usher for someone who's not a kayan to eat it. So we see, Zak the Gemara, Manda Amma b'shishim savar, basar v'atzamas bahadi basar v'atzamas v'shenim, v'havale b'shishim. One Manda Amma says that when you are counting how much of the animal is mutter and how much is aser, meaning the size of the zroya is going to be calculated by looking at both the bone and the flesh, the basar of that zroya, and you see, is it less than 1/60th of the rest of the ayil? V'havle b'shishim, and that's 60. So the reason why you're allowed to eat is because it's batel, because it's 60 of the ayil keneged the zroya. You exclude the bone from the cheshbon, and you just count the basar of the leg, connected this is the foreleg of the animal, of the ayil, and you count it connected the basar of the rest of the animal. Now, a leg of an animal is from the more bony parts, right? It's basically it's a big bone with a little bit of meat on it. So if you calculate just the meat and the rest of the animal, the basar is more predominant. There's not as much bone. So if you're going to count the basar on its own, it's going to come out to be 1 in 100. That was saying the zroya is batal. So like we said, if you count the basar together with the atzamas, it's 1 in 60. If you just count the basar, it's the zroya is batal 1 in 100. So these are going to be the two shitas of Rav Asi and Rav Chia bar Abba of how to understand Rabbi Shua ben Levi that Bar Kapara. Rabbi Shua ben Levi said b'shem Bar Kapara that the din of bittul, which we learn out from the zroya b'sheila, if you're counting just the basar, then it's 1 in 100. If you count the basar with the atzamas, then it's 1 in 60. It's telling you that even though you cook the zroya together with the rest of the animal, since it's only 1 out of 60 of iser kenega, the heter, it's mutter. And if you count just the basar, it's 1 out of 100 that it's going to be bat. Okay. That was the easy part. Now we get into the limud. So this is the source for the original machlekes. We come to the conclusion in the end that it's 1 in 60. Even though we have in Shas sometimes 1 in 100, as we'll see later in this sugya, that the conclusion of 1 in 100 is only legabi truma. There's a special pasuk by truma that says 1 in 100 or 1 in 101. But 1 in 100 is really a dead letter. In the end, we paskin like we saw earlier in this sugya that the Amoraim, the Chabul Masak in the end 1 in 60. But this is the original machlekes. Whether you learn out from this pasuk of Zroya B'Shem, what do you learn out from it? Can we really learn from here that one echad b'shishim is batal, or 1 in 100 for that matter? V'atanya, zev hater haba b'chlal iser. We have a brisa that says this case of Zroya B'Sheila is mutter, right? You're allowed to cook ultimately the Zroya because it's batal to the rest of the animal, but it's something that really should be aser. What is it saying that this is a unique case? This is a chiddush. This is the only case that's mutter. This is a heter that really should be aser. It's saying that over here it's going to be batal b'shishim or batal b'rahanja, but normally it would not be batal. Amar Abaya, so we're going to have three different ways of answering this kasha. Amar Abaya, Leinitzach halil Rabbi Yehuda. This that was saying that this is an exception over here, that it's mutter, is only according to Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar min b'mina loy batal. Kamash malon nahacha batal. No, the Torah, no, although it's true that normally, just like over here, the pasuk says that the Zroya is batal, generally, Isser is batal 1 in 60 or 1 in 100. But over here you have a second problem that Yehuda says a min b'mina if you have two things of the same kind, like basar with basar or basar with bones with basar and bones, different parts of an animal are certainly the same type of thing, that they're not batal. So that's what we're coming to say. This is a heter abba machlal iser. It really should be aser because it's min b'mina, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, it shouldn't be batal. So that's what I'm coming to tell you. Even though it shouldn't be batal, it does have the general rule that we're going to say bittul will apply, in spite of Rabbi Yehuda's din. The pasuk says that it's mutter, so that tells you that it's mutter, even though it really should be aser. But it doesn't. So we're left with that. The general rule is 60 or 100 is batal. In fact, the Gemara, the ligma minay. Why does Rabbi Yehuda taka hold min b'minay is not batal? If the Torah is saying over here that even though it's min b'minay it's batal, let's learn from here that min b'minay is batal. Right? We're saying zeu heter abba machalis. According to Rabbi Yehuda's general rule of min b'minay is not batal, but the Torah said over here that it is batal. Why are we saying that this is an exception? Let's say this is where we learn that Rabbi Yehuda is incorrect, that min b'minay is batal. So the Torah says, Lagabi the Seirei of Yom Kippur, that you mix together, you do a par and a sar. A par obviously is bigger than a sar. A cow is bigger than a goat, and you mix their blood together, and then you take it and you throw it, you do zrikas with it. And it says, V'lokach midam apar misam asar. You take from the dam apar and the dam asar. But really, the dam asar should be bottled. There's more dam apar than the dam asar. So why is the Torah referring it to it as the dam apar and the dam asar? Just say the dam apar. V'lokach midam apar, together with it was formerly dam sar, but now it's bottled to the dam par. Nevertheless, Shavaya Bahadadinyanu Veloy Batli. So Rabbi Yehuda says, why is it not bottled? Because it's Mim B'minai. That's the reason why the dam is not bottled. And Torah refers to them as two separate entities, even though there's more dam apar. So this is the source for Rabbi Yehuda that Mim B'minai is not bottled. So we have competing psukim, right? We have a pasuk over here that says by Zroya B'Sheila that even though it's a Mim B'minai, it is bottled. And we have over there by Yom Kippur that we say Mim B'minai is not bottled. So now the Gemara says, so why does Rabbi Yehuda Taka hold that Mim B'minai is not bottled because of Yom Kippur? Why doesn't he say by the Nazar it says Zroya B'Sheila it is bottled? Instead we're saying the Brisa says this is an exclusion, this is an atypical case that we're saying Zeu Heter Habab Mechlalis, it really should be also because the Zroya B'Sheila should not be bottled, but even so the pasuk tells you that it's bottled. But the rule comes from Yom Kippur. Mehecha Teisa. So the case of the Zroya B'Sheila, the Gemara answers, you can't learn out from that. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't learn out from that because it's a chiddush. How is it a chiddush? So we know, and it makes sense, that the din of bittul, I hope we know this, you can never take something, mevatel it l'chatchila. The din of a bittul are ex post facto, right? After something fell in, then you go to the Rav and you ask him, can I say it's batul? But if you go to the Rav and say, I was thinking about dropping my milchig spoon into my fleshig pot, he'll say, he'll hit you upside the head, and he say, don't do it. You're not going to do it. And not only are you not allowed to do it l'chatchila, it's not going to work if you do it l'chatchila. But the Zroya B'Sheila, we're talking about, the Torah said, cook it together. It's not a b'diavad case. That's what the Torah tells you to do. So in that sense, it's a chiddush. You don't learn out from Zroya B'Sheila that Min B'minai is batel, because the Torah says it's batel, because this is a atypical case where you're doing it l'chatchila. Zok Gemara, Ihachi, l'mei v'samach nami le'ligma. Right? This is all answering. We had the original question that the Brisa says that Zroya B'Sheila is a heter haba mechlal iser. So we wanted to say, we're saying we're learning out from there the general rule of batul b'shishim or batul b'mei, as the case may be, depending on which shita. So he said, so he said, Abaye says, no, it's not. So the problem was, it's saying, the Torah says, so he's saying, is it coming to say that only over here that it's going to be batul, but everywhere else, all the other Yisurim of the Torah are not batul? So we said, no, it's not coming, Lagabi, the general rule of Isser. That we learn out the general rule of Yisurim, that it's batul b'shishim over 100. That which we said, this is an unusual case that can't be learned from, is only in Rabbi Yehuda's din of Mim B'Mina is not batul. We're saying this you can't learn out. Again, why should we say that that because it's a chiddush, that it's a case where you mavata lechatchila, you can't learn out from it Rabbi Yehuda's din. You can't learn out against Rabbi Yehuda's din that Mim B'Mina is not batul. Let's say it's also atypical, and you can't learn out from here in general the rule. This is our source that is a din of bittul b'shishim or bittul from 100. Why don't we have the same question? We're saying you can't learn out Rabbi Yehuda's din from here. The Bryce saying you can't learn out Rabbi Yehuda's din from here. Why does the Bryce also the cheshbon of why you can't learn from Yehuda should also apply for the din of general bittul b'shishim or bittul b'meir? So Gemara atu anan lekula gamin lechum gamin. No, there's a very big difference. We're saying that Rabbi Yehuda says Mimbamina is not batal. That's a kula. You can't learn out from a case where the person is doing it lechatchila to tell you Rabbi Yehuda's chumrah of Rabbi Yehuda's that was saying what's the svara? Rabbi Yehuda wants to learn out from here. We say you can't learn out from here for everywhere else.
Rabbi Yehuda is not.
Which is a kula. We want to say it over here, Min B'mina is batal. That's a kula to say Min B'mina generally is not batal, but over here it is. You can't learn out from a case where it's being done lechatchila. But this din that something is batal b'shishim or batal b'meya, b'etzem really everything should be batal b'roiv, which is the Raisa Dika din is that we have bittul b'roiv. And what this pasuk is doing is saying that you have to have bittul b'shishim or bittul b'meya in order for it to be batal. So we're saying a kula. So we're saying a chumrah. To say that you can't learn out a chumrah because this has a second chumrah, there's no reason to say that. Even in spite of the fact that this is a chiddush, that this is when you're doing it chatchila, that's no reason not to extend the chumrah into other cases of taruvas. So we would be able to learn out shishim from the case of zroya b'sheila. Like we said, the default is bittul b'roiv, and we're saying that no, you need bittul b'shishim or bittul b'meya, but and we can learn it out from the din of zroya b'sheila that's the shir. Rava has a different way of answering this brisa that says zeu heter abba mechalisa. We had said before, Abaye had said that it's coming to tell you the din of Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Yehuda is a unique case of heter haba mechalisa that really should be aser, and was saying that it's mutter, but it can't be learned to other places. Rava Mulanitzukal tam ke'ikar. This is talking about the din of tam ke'ikar. So Rava holds that, just to give the general structure, that b'derech klal throughout the Kol HaTorah Kula, a tam, when something gives just a flavor without the actual physical pieces of the iser, we don't learn that. We say tam is not ke'ikar. The tam is not enough to ask. At least midaraisa. As we'll see, but he does hold that legabi kachim, we do say tam is ke'ikar, and it will be enough to ask. Zok Gemara, Rav Amalei nitzrach latam ke'ikar. The bekachim also that when we say that the zroya b'sheila is mutter, even though it's part of the, even though it's being cooked together with the zroya b'sheila, which is also to non-kahanim, it's not going to answer the rest of the aisle, even though they're cooked together. That's in spite of the fact that this is kachim, and by kachim, tam is ke'ikar, unlike ordinary non-kachim situations. This zroya b'sheila only gave a tam into the rest of it, but it doesn't make a difference because it's kachim, so therefore it should be aser. Kamash malon ha'chashari. That's what it's coming to tell you, that in this case, even though it should be aser because it's a tam of kachim, then it's mutter. In fact, the marva ligmimina. Why do we taka say that tam ke'ikar Tam is ke'ikr by kachim. Let's learn out from the Zroya b'Shela. So tomorrow we have a pasuk. Gali rachmana gabi chatas. The Torah says the gabi carbon chatas kolashi yigid b'sara yikdash. Whatever touches the basar of a chatas will itself become kaddish with the kedusha of a chatas. Right? When you have your basar, it touches something else. It will give. I think it means in the context of cooking when it was hot, so it absorbs some of the flavor. Lias kamaya shem psula tifsel. That if, for example, the chatas has a dim pigel and it touches a shlomim that's not pigel, the shlomim will also become also to eat because it gets a tam from the chatas. And if the chatas is not puzzle, it's a chasher chatas, but the flavor of the chatas goes into the shlamim. You can have whatever the restrictions of the chatas are. That chatas can only be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash, and the shlam could be eaten in Yerushalayim. But now the flavor went into the shlam, so the shlam is also going to have to be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash. So this is a pasuk that tells you that tam is ke'ikr by kachim. Umay chaz the gamrina meheich ligma mehai. So again, we're left in the same position as before. Why are we learning out from chatas that tam is ke'ikr by kachim, but we're not learning out from Zroya b'Shela that it's not, where we say it's mutter? Chidushu mechidush lo gamrinin. Again, Zroya b'Shela was l'chatchila, the Torah tells you to do it. This is the proper way to do it. Masha'en kein bechatas. It says kol she'yigam b'sara. You're not supposed to touch your chatas or something else when it's hot. But if it happens, we're saying that tam is ke'ikr. But so that's not a chiddush. So therefore, we learn out from that as opposed to from Zroya b'Shela. That's what we say by Zroya b'Shela. It's a heter abba mechaleser. Frek the mari hachal mei shishim nami loigmer. And we have the same question. So let's say if it's a chiddush, you shouldn't learn out the ikar din of bittul b'shishim or b'meya. The Gemara says no, it's a midaraisa. It's really a kula. So it's a chumrah because midaraisa it's beruba batul. So this is a chumrah. So therefore we will be able to learn it out l'chumrah in spite of the fact that it's a chiddush. That's the second pshat in how to answer that it seems to be saying we shouldn't be able to learn out the din of batal b'shishim and b'meya from Zroya b'Shela. Ravina says the third pshat. This is only talking about the place of cutting. That means we had said, let's see the Rashi Lamagmchi. The Alma b'chol isav heta hamechubarim. K'ay hoitzi over es yadei. K'ay un ever habedoldo. We had said this before. This Malcolm Chitach we had earlier in Chullin, that when a animal sticks out, a fetus sticks out its limb, its aver from the mother at the time of shchita, that aver, or before the time of shchita, that aver is excluded from the heter of the shchita of the mother. And we said that what you have to do is you have to cut off the aver and separate it. You can't eat it together with the rest of the uber, or with the mother for that matter, because it doesn't get the heter of the shchita. So we said there's a chiddush that in addition to the aver that was outside being aser, the part that's inside the mother, the makom chitach, the place of the cut, that also is going to be awesome. We say that that's the general rule. That part is also the place where the inside of the animal was touching. When you cut it, the inside of the animal there before you cut it was touching the outside. So that part is also because of the isser of the outside part. So we're saying over there, that's what the Brisa is saying, that although generally we will say that where it's cut off, that malkum is going to be aser, Lagabi the Zroya b'Shela, we don't require that the part of the aisle that was touching the Zroya B'Shela is going to be Asr al this din of Makom Chitach. And under other circumstances, we would say the Makom Chitach is Asr, but we're going to make an exception on the Zroya B'Shela and say that it's Mutter. That's the third teretz, and therefore this brisa has no relevance. Lagabi, it's not saying anything that affects our ability to learn from Zori B'Shela din of Shishim or Batal Bital B'Shishim Batal Ameya. It just means this din doesn't apply.
If the whole b'shela is mutter, why do we need to tell you that the makom chatach is mutter?
So the Zori B'Shela, it means Lagabi non kayanim. The Zori B'Shela is only mutter to kayanim.
Right.
And the rest of the aisle is mutter to all everyone else, right? All Yidden can eat the rest of the aisle. So we're saying even the makom chitach is going to be mutter to everyone. It's not going to be restricted.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if we already know that the rest of it is mutter, what's the big? What do I need to tell you that the makom chatach is?
Well, because in other circumstances we say when you have isser bordering on heter and then you cut it off,
right?
The makom chitach of the general part is going to be aser, but over here we're making an exception.
That's where everything else is aser. Here, everything else is mutter. In other words,
no, it's the other way around. We're talking. Let's say we talked over there about you shechted an animal,
just like
the part sticking out was aser because it didn't get a shechita. So saying in addition to that aver being aser, also the inside of the animal adjoining that is aser as well. You have a little bonus isser. And that bonus issa won't apply over here. Yeah. Yosef Ravdimi. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna have to wait for Matzah Shabbos. There's a good chance I'm gonna impose on you a little bit on Matzah Shabbos as long as you can to try to get a little bit extra done. Even though it's such good things to do. It really is because it's so confusing. And like I always say, if you don't do it at the time that you come across